our thirst for adventure, we all too often yearn for distant horizons. But adventure, like charity, really begins at home. And if you're like me and you're lucky enough to live in southeast Queensland, there is plenty of adventure to be found right in your backyard. In this episode, I'm going to be heading up to the Noosa River to do some fishing, hopefully get some good fish. Then I'm going to head up to one of my favorite places on the planet, Tiwa Beach, right up to Double Island Point. It's an absolutely stunning place. There's good fishing, surfing, pretty much anything you want to do there.
Every fisherman has his heart set on plying wild waters where hooks rarely get wet. But sometimes the challenge of fishing East Coast waters pays off. I caught up with James from Noosa River Fishing Safaris to explore the Noosa River with a few rods and hopefully a bit of luck.
It's actually a little different fishing in my own backyard here. I'm the opposite of most anglers, I think. Most guys spend a lot of time working the waters around where they live, but I spend most of my time traveling the country, going to places as far away as you can go. And it's a bit different actually, just fishing in my own backyard here and learning a lot about what's in the water here. And this might be something new right here.
Beautiful, that was a good one.
Nice fat little brim. Back in the day when I was a kid, that was lunch.
Out of the mouth, we played the rising tide on the shallow banks.
There's a fish. That's what we want. He's actually pulling some line. Come on, give me some back, mate. I guess he's really got nowhere to hide out here, eh?
Out in the open.
All right, you gonna call it, mate? What is it?
Could be a trevally. Yeah, it is.
Nice. What a weird, beautiful fish. Look at this guy. What a weirdo. What do you call these?
Diamond trevally, or a pennant fish.
Never caught one of them before. Strange, beautiful fish. Looks beautiful in the water swimming with those long fins. But these guys pull really well, especially on the light tackle. You can tell they're related to their big cousins, the GTs. That body's all muscle, and they really can get a good pull on you. He took heaps of line off the tackle, so good little fighter, beautiful fish, and it's a first for me, for these guys. So one more off the bucket list. All right, we'll let this guy go so that somebody else can be weirded out when they catch him.
The Noosa River, despite how built up this part of the world is along the coast, is still a pretty wild waterway that can serve up plenty of brim and flathead on the right day. Although, as prosaic as this river system may seem, there are still a few surprises lurking in these tidal waters.
This is going to be a long fight, I think, because whatever this guy is, he's definitely really big for this rig. So it's going to take a while because, like I said before, you can't really put too much hurt on him, and you can't screw the drag on too much or it'll just pop the whole thing off. But he's hooked good and proper. We're actually pulling him in, and I thought it was snagged until he took the line and ran with it. He was acting like a ray or a shark or something. So the trick here is just to pump him on, but real gentle on the pump bit. You don't want anything changing too fast here. At the pace we're going here, we might be here for half an hour trying to get this guy in the boat. I've been knocking the drag up little by little. He doesn't go where he doesn't want to go, eh? He's running again. Now he's gonna get over in the mangroves. Look at him go.
I'll just swing the bow around, then I can drive up on him.
He's right in the shallows. There he is. Fuck. He's got so much pull left in him. Thing is, if we get close, I can muscle him a little bit before he freaks out.
Yeah, that's strong, eh? There we go, he's coming out now.
He's coming out a bit. Little by little.
This is when it gets hard when they're near the boat, because they'll just sit on the bottom.
We'll probably lose him, because I'm just gonna put a little bit more hurt on him. All right, you ready? Okay, well, all that fight for this guy. It's a leopard spot whipray. And obviously you can see why it's called that. This guy must weigh like 15 kilos.
Yeah, probably would be close to that. It's pretty impressive for light line.
And they can just pull and pull and pull. So pretty amazing. We actually got him in the boat. We just managed to trap him up against the mangroves there. But yeah, it's not the kind of thing that you normally go hunting because they're a nightmare, especially on light tackle. And most times they just break you off. But we took our time, just played around with the drag and got him in the boat. So weirdest grip and grin of my life right here. We're gonna let this guy go. See you, mate. Mate, we've both got a pretty awesome backyard here, don't we?
Yeah, we certainly do.
So how long have you been doing the charters?
About 14 or 15 months now.
So you got the place pretty wired?
Yeah, it's good, mate. Like, I grew up here. I've been fishing and working on the river for about 10 to 15 years.
So what are you mainly targeting around here?
Mainly targeting brim, flathead, whiting, trevally, mangrove jack.
Pretty good table fish, most of them.
Yeah, you're not wrong. They're all pretty good eating, yep.
They're really good on light tackle too.
Yeah, that's why we fish so light, you know, just to get a bit of fun out of it.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, mate, we've caught like half a dozen species already. A couple I've never caught before.
Yep.
It's been pretty fun.
Yep.
All we need now is maybe a big flatty or mangrove jack.
Yeah, no worries, mate. Let's go chase it.
With the tide filling up the river slowly, we headed upstream ahead of the surge to find more fish.
On. It's not that big. Let's see what this is. Oh, that is a mangrove jack. Beautiful, beautiful. Now, he's not the biggest jack that I've ever seen, but that is a beautiful little mangrove jack, and we've got him in the boat, so things are looking good now this afternoon. These guys fight pound for pound a lot harder than pretty much any other fish this size. They really can put a good pull on the end of the line, and of course, one of the best eating fish in Australia. All right, mate, thanks for a good fight. Get bigger.
After a solid day chasing fish on the Noosa, the river wasn't quite done with me yet. There is no bridge over the Noosa up here, so the D-Max and I had to jump on the barge to get to the North Shore. I've always thought that this part of the journey added something greater than the sum of the parts. It is a very real reminder that one road ended behind you, and something else, something wild, is ahead.
Good to be back out on the road again. Just on the barge over the Noosa River, headed up to Double Island Point. It's one of my favorite places on the planet, and I always get a little bit of butterflies in my stomach on this barge. Not because I think it's gonna sink, but just because it's taken me to one of my favorite spots. You know, it's like going to see your girlfriend when you're 16. But this is good. It's such a good place to start an adventure, and it's my happy place.
Once you drive off the barge, you're officially not in Kansas anymore. The road here is a short jaunt through a sprawling paperbark swamp up to the third cutting, where we'll drop onto the beach just south of Tiwa. This is the last bit of paved road until you get all the way up to Rainbow Beach, and that's exactly how I like it. You can get to Double Island via Rainbow, but I reckon a 60-kilometer run up the beach beats a 2-hour drive on the highway any day of the week.
This is when you know it's about to get fun, and it's time to let some air out the tires. Beach here is pretty flat at the start, but there's a few sticky sections. So Shadow's running a little heavy today, so probably gonna put the front down to about 15, just so that it's got a nice track out there, nice fat tires to get me through that sand, the soft bits, but the back I'll probably put up to about 20, 25, because there's a lot more weight back there. Just makes it a bit easier to sort of control it. You don't want them too bagged out.
With the last bit of preparation done, finally, both of the Isuzus rolled onto the beach on nice soft tires. The D-Max loving the higher revs, and the MUX stacked to the rafters with surfboards. Now don't get me wrong, I love adventure. The kind where you find yourself out on the edge of the continent with thousands of kilometers between you and the nearest outpost of humanity. But my version of living the dream, at its finest, has to include sand, a big sky, offshore wind, an esky full of beer, and a rack full of surfboards. You just know you're going to have a good time. And the beauty of a place like this is that if you head up midweek, you can still have this little pocket of paradise all to yourself. You really have to watch the tides up here. I've been caught out a couple of times, having to drive through a lot more than knee-deep salt water. And while it's a testament to the reliability of the Isuzus, it still gives me the willies every time.
We've just pulled up to the North Point here at Double Island Point, and I've got the endless summer music ringing in my ears because it's like the smallest day ever out here. But this is why you bring a longboard. We're not here for a big time, we're here for a good time.
When I was a kid in the Boy Scouts, not much really stuck with me except their one central adage: always be prepared. That's what I love about four-wheel drive touring. You can, within reason, bring along tools for just about every eventuality. And when it comes to eventualities, nothing beats a sandy point break without another soul in the water. On a good day here, you can catch a wave right off the rocks at the point and ride it for maybe kilometers without having to paddle again. The walk back can be pretty brutal, but this really is a legendary wave. And I always feel like I'm walking through history surfing here, like I'm partaking in an ancient ritual that connects the past and the future in that crystalline moment on the face of the wave. This is why you buy a four-wheel drive. Because that is the key to open up places like this out there, which I think helps unlock something deeper within us. Double Island Point juts out into the Pacific like a head on a stick, with Tiwa to the south, Rainbow Beach, aptly named, to the west. The path west toward the town of Rainbow Beach runs right under the painted sands, colored by the minerals in the ground slowly leaching out, carved by wind and water into spectacular chromatic bluffs. As beautiful as it is, this part of the beach can be nefarious. Coffee rock and half-buried trees can make it impassable for hours either side of the high tide. We weren't staying in Rainbow though. We were headed just a bit further north to Inskip Point, legendary stepping off point for Fraser Island, an even more legendary spot for people to get bogged. It really feels like the edge of the earth here, with Tin Can Bay in the distance to the west, and the southern tip of Fraser Island to the north. The sand here is famously soft, but that never seems to deter dedicated people from ending up unstuck.
Inskip Point is one of the most notorious places in southeast Queensland to get bogged, and you can see why. It's this powdery, thick white sand, and yeah, it's pretty nefarious. It's really easy to bog here. These guys just had a little bit too much air in their tires, so they've just sunk right into it. So we dropped that out, just gonna give them a quick snatch out, shadow, and yeah, get them going so I can watch the sunset with some beer.
I never mind giving people a hand out on the tracks. Lord knows I've had my fair share of people helping me over the years out of some pretty hopeless situations in four-wheel drives. And if you're into that kind of thing, it's pretty easy to stay busy at Inskip pulling people out. It's good practice, and I reckon most people learn something along the way, so it's nice to pass on a bit of technique as well.
This should be pretty straightforward. It's not really bogged that bad, but it's really soft here. So I've got it in four-wheel drive, got my rear lockers on, just to be careful. But yeah, with a snatch strap, should be able to pop them out of there pretty easy and then drag them through the really sticky stuff. Here we go.
You can tell something's amiss here. The sand isn't even that soft, and the cruiser is dragging.
Wow, so simple recovery is not so simple. So old mate didn't have his car in gear, and I was just skull dragging him down the beach. So I've kind of bogged myself in, so put a couple max tracks up the back and see if I can pop myself out real quick and then pull the spoke through.
A couple of lessons to be learned here. 1. Max tracks work like a dream if you use them right, and they're integral to any recovery kit. 2. I really should have communicated better with the bloke I was snatching.
Wow, this is why you bring all the little tools along, because sometimes the little recoveries become big ones. And of course the sun's about to go down, so my timing's perfect. All right, mate, you ready to go?
Yeah, go,
This is the one.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a good snatch. Both vehicles driving, good communication, and everyone back on their way out to the point.
Well, that was fun. Sometimes those little simple recoveries end up being not so simple, but you know what? I see all the stuff that's on this truck as just a big collection of toys. So it's always fun to come out and play with them.
After a few sandy setbacks, I finally parked the D-Max at the edge of Inskip Point, pulled out a beer and my fishing rod, and achieved nirvana just as the sun set over Tin Can Inlet. A rising tide washing over my bare feet, a line in the water, and nothing but wind and sand and water as companions. This is what this part of the world is all about. This is, for me, the perfect recipe for living the dream. Does it get any better?
For millennia, mankind has worn a path from his home to some distant site of pilgrimage. For many of them, it's the longest journey they'll ever take. For most of them, it's the deepest that they'll ever dip into the unfathomable. Pilgrimage really shines, though, when you learn that it's really about the journey more than the destination. Whether or not you're going to the Hajj, Uluru, or some beach on the other side of the continent, what really makes us learn, the lessons that we gain, are from the journey on the way there, not in arriving at where we plan to get to. But it's still important to plan your own pilgrimage. Look at the map of Australia, pick a spot you've never been to, somewhere beautiful, somewhere you've always dreamed of. Plan it, take the trip, learn along the way, and become part of the human story as you go out there and find your own place in the sun.